Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. My name is Danny. Thank you for being here today. And we're gonna do a live coding session. Basically, this is gonna be a visitor design pattern implemented in Rust. And as a lot of you guys know, this is my second month learning Rust. And I would like to give a shout out to Green Tea Coding, and I'll leave the link in the description below to his video where he taught this concept. And it was basically this whole thing was built on top of his project, but of course I put my own little twist on it, my own spin on it, and it helped me a lot. Just not just for the design pattern itself, but also just learning the syntax and doing this really reinforced the concepts of traits and all the structs and all the methods that's implemented, and it's like wrapped, and it's like the common features between each individual trait. I really recommend everybody to try to do this the same way. Implement it yourself, do it yourself, build it yourself from scratch, and I'm very positive that it will also help you in your understanding of the language as well. So without further ado, let's get right into it. All right, so I already started a new cargo project for Rust called Visitor. So this is the main. As you can see, there's nothing going on right now. Let's open up the terminal. Nice. What is it? What's going on? All right, so let's get right into it. We're gonna implement first of all a new file. Let's do player, right? So there's gonna be a player file and an item file. Actually, no. Let's do plural players and then items.rs. All right, so with those two, we're gonna start just building up struct for each individual one. All right, so for the player, let's do a name. Let's do something simple, and it's gonna be a string, and then also, let's say health, which is gonna be an I32, basically the health of the player, right? And then for the items, we're gonna do something different here. Let's turn off the Vim for now. Struct item. We're gonna do an item type, and then it's gonna be of type item type, and then it's gonna be let's do damage, which is gonna be also an I32. So it's like a video game, right? If you're a player and you pick up a weapon, I want to record what type of weapon it was and also how much damage can it do to the enemy. So let's do let's go ahead and implement the enum item type as well, and we're gonna let's do 3 for now: sword, bow, and gun. Okay, so now that we have the items and the player struct, let's go ahead and implement the methods for them. Player, just like that. All right, so let's see. Let's do a new player, right? New. We're gonna take in a string type, a name type string, and then also the health. It's gonna be 32. We're gonna return player. Like that, and then in here, just gonna do name health, and that should work. All right, same with items. New item's gonna take in an item type, so and then a damage. It's going to be I32. We're going to return a new item. Here it is. Item type, damage. All right. So now that we have the 2 new function for each of the struct, let's go ahead and let's go back to main. Let's go ahead and get all the module out the way. Items, and then module players, and we're gonna have to use the struct. So use players player, and then use items item. Okay, so let's do let player equal player new, and we're gonna call this let's say Danny, which is me, convert it to a string. And then also for the health, let's start with 100, right? Because I have perfect health going into the game. All right, so we have a player. Let's do an item that I can pick up, and this item is gonna be a new type. Oh, so I gotta do that as well. I gotta call the item type, and just like that. What's the problem? It's private. Oh. All right. So item. Let's see. Yeah, item type. Let's do a sword. Okay. So the item is going to be a sword. Let's name it sword instead. And also, how much damage can it do? Let's say 50. Okay. So now that we have the item and a sword. So let's say if we want to save these two items. Let's start out by implementing the methods inside of each individual module so that we can save an item or a player into a text file inside of our directory, working directory right now. So we're gonna say hub-fn save player, and it's gonna be a self because it's gonna be a method, so it carries with it its own instance, and it's going to return an stdio result. Let's put a unit type for now because it's not gonna, you don't need anything returned, just the result. And then save player. Okay, so what we're gonna do is, first of all, we're gonna need to have a file. It's gonna be an open option. This is gonna allow us to set all the flags that we need for our file that we want to open and create. So we want to turn on all the appropriate flags. So first of all, we want to be able to write to it. So true, write true. We want to be able to truncate it because if it already exists, we want to truncate it to 0 so that we can start from scratch. And then also we want to be able to write, truncate, create. Yeah, so if it's not already exist, it doesn't exist in the folder, we're gonna create a new one. Okay, and then finally we want to open it, and it's gonna be the file name. So I forgot that in the argument here. It's gonna be file path. Let's do file path for now. Okay, so we're gonna open the file path and unwrap it since it's gonna return a result. Keep in mind, guys, of course, in production or if you're going to code a big project, you have to handle these errors a lot more gracefully, not just unwrapping it because that's just going to panic if there's an error. So you don't actually want that. But for the sake of this project, just to get through it, we're going to use unwrap. Okay, so now that we have the file open, what are we going to do with the file? Let's see. The file is going to write. It's going to take in a buffer. So we gotta create that buffer first. So for the player, let's do let content equal format macro, and we're gonna format whatever we want to write to the text file. So it's gonna be name, right? Player name, and then also player health. And it's going to be self.name and then self.health. All right, so let's see. Format, player name, player health. That's the content we want to save. What is this here? Oh, that looks good. Okay, and then let's see. So when we pass in the content, it's going to be as bytes because write all only accept U8, which is basically a byte. Write all for the struct file. Why? New file count as bytes. Oh, because we haven't we haven't we have to call file. Was it how do you call file again? Hold on. Where is file? So file. There you go. See. There you go. All right, that should work now. Let's see. We have the file, right? There's a method, right, with similar name. Let's try that again. Write all. Yeah, so we got it right the first time. I don't know why the compiler was giving me issues. All right, content as bytes. Okay. All right, that works. Let's see. Save player. Is that correct? Yes. We opened file. Actually, the file path is gonna have to be /player.txt. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna create a we're gonna open a folder first. We're gonna create a folder. File path equal. Let's see. Save files. Right. Yeah, and then we're gonna go ahead and open it. Create directory, just so we have a folder already existing. Because if we don't create one, it's not gonna be able to open a new file or start or create a new file inside of that folder. So let's create directory all file path. Okay, now that we have that, when we do want to save a player, we want to also take the file path and concatenate it with a file name. So we're going to create a file name equal format. Let's see, struct. So we're gonna pass in the file path there, and then it's gonna be player.txt. Okay, so that's gonna be. So it's going to be save file /player.txt. Okay, that's the file name. Okay, bad file name. Sorry. There you go. That's better. Okay, so then we take the file path, we concatenate it with player.txt for the file name, and then we open up that file or create the file if it doesn't exist, and then we write to that file the content that we formatted here, converted to bytes. Okay, that looks good. And then so if it gets here, then everything's working well, which is going to return an OK variant with a unit type inside, which is nothing. Okay, so that's good. So that's how you save a player, and then it's gonna be the same thing for items, except slightly different. So I'm gonna go ahead and copy this whole entire thing, just so I don't waste time retyping everything. Okay, so it's gonna be save item, and the same thing. We're gonna take in self, and we're gonna take in the file path, but instead of player.txt, it's gonna be item.txt, and the file. Gonna have to import this as well. Import file, import open option. Where are you? There you go. Import open option, and then let's see, file name item.txt. Okay, so then now it's going to be item name and oh no, item type. Yeah, because it's going to be a sword or and then damage. It's going to be damage. Self dot item type. We're gonna have to put a we're gonna have to derive a debug trait for the item type, just so we can print it out here. It's gonna be like that. Does that work? Item type damage. What's the problem? Unknown character escape. Oh, there you go. Does that work? Nice. Okay, so then we have file, write all, content, no method for file. Let's go, let's see. Why does it keep doing that? I already have file. I guess I just gotta rewrite it. Yeah, see, it's the same exact method. I don't know why the compiler give me issues. So content.asBytes, just like that. All right, so that's how it works. What? No method. Oh, IO write. Okay. FS IO write. Okay. Okay. All right, that should work. Everything's looking good. Make sure to unwrap this because it's going to return a result. All right. So now, as you can see, we finally have something working here. We're going to create a file path. We're going to create a directory with the name of that file path, and then we're going to go ahead and try to save these two structs, and let's see if that works. So it's going to be player.savePlayer, pass in the file path, okay, and then item.save. What happened? Oh, sword.save item, pass in the file path, and it's going to be unwrapped. All right, so let's see if that works. This has to be unwrapped as well. Okay, let's see if that works. Cargo run queue. Let's see. Okay, so save files. We have item, yup, and we have the player name. Okay, perfect. So now, as you can see, it's actually working. So this is okay, right? This is all right code. It works, obviously, but I'm just gonna delete it now because it's not very clean. As you can see, each of the individual struct, the players and the item, they shouldn't have this logic within their module because this has nothing to do with the item itself. The item itself should only contain logics that allow it to modify its own state or just to show what it can do. And saving an item to a separate file, to a text file, or to a database or whatever is not part of the item. It shouldn't be combined. It should be separated. So this is where we're going to use a visitor pattern. So basically, we're going to create an abstraction just so we don't have to have the logic of the save player and the save items inside of their own module. We don't want to know what's in it. We don't want to know what goes in it. We don't want to know what happens in it. We'll call it, but we won't. We're not concerned, and we actually don't want it in here. And we want the logic to be separated somewhere else. So how are we going to do that? We're going to start a new file, and it's going to be called persistence. Okay, persistence.rs. So the first thing we should do is to create a new struct called text file saver, right? Because this struct is going to allow us to save files into a text form .txt inside of our working directory. So text file saver is going to carry with it a save directory. It's going to be a string, right? Just so we have a state of knowing where the directory is supposed to be, that we're the destination of where the file should be saved. So let's go ahead and add the module here. Okay, and then all right, so now that we have that, let's go ahead and create the method for text file saver. So same thing, we're gonna have a new method I mean, associative function technically is not a method since it doesn't have a self. We're gonna ask for save directory, and it's gonna be a string. We're gonna own that string, and then we're gonna return a text file saver. Okay, so text file saver, save directory, boom, just like that. All right, it's never use, I know. Okay, so then now that we have that, let's create some more methods to help us, basically helper method, in order to save the file. So first thing first, we're gonna need to open the file. So this is not gonna be a public method because it's gonna be used only explicitly inside of this module. So open file, we're gonna take in a file path. Well, first of all, let's do this. It's gonna be self file path. It's gonna be a string slice, and we're gonna return a result, stdio result, and within it, it's gonna be a file, just like that. Okay, let's see, open file. So the same thing that we did earlier, we're just gonna start moving the logic over into the text file saver instead of doing all of this here. We don't want to have any of this here. So let's see, we're gonna open up the file. Actually, when we start a new text file saver, let's go ahead and create the directory here so that we don't have to do it in main, because that doesn't seem like the right place to have that logic anyway, sitting in main. So we're gonna do create directory all with the save directory path. So just like that, so that we know there's a folder named save files already existing, so we don't have to do that here. And make sure we unwrap it. Okay, that works. What is the problem? What is the problem? Oh, we moved the value. Okay, because so we just have to borrow the save directory for this one instead of moving it into the create directory method. All right, and then text file saver. Okay, so now that we have that, we're gonna open the file. For this one, we need a struct name. So struct name is also gonna be a string slice, right? And we're gonna create the file name the same way we did earlier by concatenating the .txt. So we're gonna take in the self.save directory, and then we're gonna take the struct name, there you go. So we're gonna build up our own file name. So it's gonna be save file slash either player.txt or item.txt, right? Whichever one we pass in. And then once we have that, we're gonna do let mute file equal open option new. Okay, and then we're gonna have all the same flag. Create true dot write true, and then truncate true, and then finally open file name, unwrap. All right, there it is. So now that we have the file name, we could probably just return it at this point. Yeah, let's return it. Okay, return the file inside. There it is. So the next helper method is going to be to write file, and it's going to be we're going to do, let's take the same thing, the file name. We don't need to return anything for this one. Just a result is fine. And then let's see, write file, self file name. Okay, so we're gonna open up the file. Yeah, open up the file. Let file equal self dot open file. Oh, we do need to pass in the file path. Okay, so it's gonna be the same argument. Okay, so file path and then the struct name. Okay, same thing. Unwrap that to get the file. Right, okay, so then after that we can go ahead and create the content that we want to write, and it's gonna be write file. Oh, we gotta pass in the content as well. Or is this a regular string or is it a string slice? I guess we'll find out. So we're gonna do file.write. What is going on? Oh, we gotta import the file as well. Okay, we gotta import the file and the write option too. So it's gonna be IO write. So like that, right? Okay. File.write all. Okay, and we're gonna write the content as bytes. It's just like that. Dot unwrap. Let's see, write file. Okay, that looks right. Write file, yeah, that looks about right. And if that works, we're just gonna return an OK with a unit type inside. What's going on here? Cannot mutate. Oh, yeah. Has to be mutable. All right, so now that we have the open file and the write file, we're gonna go through the write file only. We're not gonna use the open file. The write file is gonna use the open file, but from here, this is the only method we're concerned with. So let's do. So this is where we put the logic for save player and save item, like before. So it's gonna be public save player and then save item. Let's see, same thing as before. Yeah, we're not returning anything, so the save player, we're just gonna do let's see, we're gonna have to pass in this self file path, struct name, and then content. Oh no, we'll make the content here. So okay, so let content equal, let's see, format. So the same as before. I'm just gonna copy and paste it. So for the player, there you go, and then struct name. We're gonna pass in a struct instead of we're gonna pass in a struct. Yeah. Save player. We're gonna pass in the struct player, and we're gonna need to import that. Yeah. Okay, so it's gonna be player.name and player.health. Name is private. Oh, yeah. And then items gonna be public. All right, so we have save players, okay. Let content, okay. And then after that, we're gonna do write file, self.write file, pass in the file path, pass in the struct name. So we don't need to pass in the struct name actually, which is created here. It's gonna be player. And then content as bytes. Does that work? That works. Okay, and then at the end, we just return a result, an okay. So let's see, let contents, yeah, save, okay, contents as byte. This is string format, byte. Write file, string. Okay, we don't need to, because we're already converting it to bytes here, so we don't need to do it here. We just pass it the content as it is, and content is gonna come out to be a string actually. That's fine. All right, there it is. So now we have the save player. So let's do the save item as well. It's gonna be the same exact thing. Self file path string slice. It's gonna be an item struct, and we're gonna return the result with a unit type inside. So same exact thing. I'm just gonna copy and paste, make it easy. Let's see, where's the content? Here we go. Okay. All right. So then content, item type, damage. Yes. This time it's gonna be item type, and same here, item.damage. Okay. So then self.write file. It's gonna be the file path. Struct name. Struct name is gonna be item, and then pass in the. We're gonna borrow the content, pass in the string slice, and unwrap it, just like that, and return OK. All right, that should work. So as you can see now, the logic to save the player and the item are now inside of persistence.rs. So we don't even need these anymore. Look how nice it is. We don't even need to see all of these logic inside of players or items, because like I said, it shouldn't have it. So I'm just gonna delete everything here. Okay. Same with this. We don't need this. All right. So now, technically, let's just return OK here for now, just so that the compiler will stop yelling at us. All right. What's the error here? Where's the error? File path. File. Oh, item. Oh, we just have to import the item. And then as you can see right now, like I said, the logic is now in persistence. So if we go back to main, so we have the file path, good. Now we don't need to do this anymore. Let's just comment it out. Now let's go and say let saver equal text file saver new, and we're gonna pass in the file path. There it is. Oh, that's gonna be a string, so we need to convert that to a string. Okay, so then now we have the saver. So as of now, we could just do saver.save items, right? And then we're gonna pass in the file path and the sword. And that should work. Oh, unwrap. Okay, and that should work. And the same thing goes for the player. We're gonna borrow the sword, and then saver.save player file path, and then it's gonna be the player unwrap. So this should work, just like this here, and I'll show you that it works. I'll prove that it works. Here we go. There it is. So as you can see, everything works the same, except the logic is now within persistence instead of in players and items. But so let's go a step further. This is good, but we don't actually want to do this because it doesn't look nice, right? We want to be able to say, hey, the player dot save player, sword dot save item. So we want to have the logic be inside of persistence, but at the same time we want to call the method from player and sword. That way it's just cleaner. It's just a lot better. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna implement that by, instead of saying save player, we're gonna say save with for both the players and the items. So now basically, instead of passing in the file path, we're gonna pass in a trait, and we're gonna do that right now. In order to do that, let's create a new trait called persister. Okay, so with this trait, it's required that we're required to do these two methods, the save player and the save items method. So I'm going to copy this entire thing. I'm just going to leave it here. Okay, there it is, and the same goes for save item. So whichever struct implement this trait persister has to implement their own version of save player and save item. So now we're gonna move these two methods outside. We're gonna say implement persister for text file saver, and then within that we're gonna cut that and paste it here. We don't need the public anymore because it's implied that it's going to be public. So now everything looks similar. All we did was move the logic outside of the text file saver struct and basically inside of the trait. So now when we go back to players and we say save with, we just got to take in a saver, right? So now instead of taking in a file path, we're going to take in a struct of persister. So we're going to take in a saver that has a persister trait implemented on them. I hope I said that correctly. All right, so basically we're going to say saver dot save player, pass in the file path, saver. Hold on 1 second. So we need to save the player. The save player has to be the file path and the player. Okay. Save with the saver.save player. Save with the file path and the player. Player, self, and then the file path. How are we going to get the file path here? Do we need the file path? Let's see. No, we technically don't need a file path. Okay, so let's delete that. We don't need a file path. The file path is going to be self dot save directory. Yeah, because we already have the file path inside of the struct for text file saver, so we don't need to have a file path passed in. Same player. Okay. So we need to change the signature here to just that. All right, and that should work. Okay. So item, need a saver, persister. We need to import the persister, and then saver.save item, and we're just going to pass in the item, and that's it. Oh, self. File path, nope. Just the self. All right. So now, instead of saying saver.savePlayer, we could just say player.save with, and we're gonna pass in the saver. Unwrap, of course. And also for the sword, we're gonna save with the saver dot unwrap. Okay. Of course, it has to be borrow. All right, so now everything should work the exact same. I'm gonna delete this just to prove that. There it is. So as you can see, it's doing the exact same thing, but now it's a lot cleaner. Now we don't need to items and players, even though it does have the method to save, but we don't even see what goes on in the method. We don't know the logic. The people that this module does not concern itself with how to save into a text file, and it's all here in persistence. So if we need to change the logic, let's say if I want to change, instead of player name, I want to change it to just say name, I know exactly where to go. I go straight into persistence.rs. I don't have to go and dig around at every single struct. I have all of this, everything that's pertained to saving to a text file in here. I can just change the logic in here. So that's the genius of the visitor pattern. Now, we can also go another step further. So let's say, how do we loop through it? Right now, we have to go through each individual one just to call the method. But I want to have a way to where I can just save everything inside of an array, the player, the sword, and I can add whatever other objects I want, and then I can just call them in a loop. And in order to do that, we're going to create another trait. So we're going to go here to persistence, and we're going to do another trait called, let's say, persist_d, because the persister pertains to the saver. So the persist_d should pertain to the save E. I don't even know if that's a word, but this persist_d is gonna wrap around every single struct that can be saved, whereas the persister wraps around every single struct that does the saving. Hope that helps. I hope I said that right. All right, so persist_d, we're gonna implement the save with function. Let's see what was in the save with function here. Self and the persister. Okay, so self and then the persister is gonna be saver. Okay, so it's basically the same as the function method of this, and we're gonna return all right. So now we have a persist_d trait, and we can implement that for every single struct that needs to be saved, that can be saved. So player is one of them. All right, so then we're gonna take this entire thing, paste it here, remove the pub because it's already implied it's gonna be public. We gotta import this. Import. All right, same thing with item, implement persist_d for item, and we're gonna copy everything from here down. All right, import. Okay, that should work. Now we go back to main, and instead of doing it like this, what we can do is just say let save E, right? And it's going to be a vector of every single struct that implemented the persist_d trait. Just like that, equal vec, pass in the player, pass in the sword. So now we'll save for every save for S and save V. So for every single item in save V, save with, and we're just gonna pass in the saver. Unwrap. Just like that. I'm just gonna say struct. For every struct in the save V, oh, we can't use that because it's a keyword. Okay, sorry. For every, I'm just gonna say entity. There you go. That way it's a little bit easier to read. I'm gonna pass in the saver. All right, so now this should work, right? So basically all we did was we put the player and the sword inside of an array, a vector of items that can be saved because it implements the persist_d trait. And then we loop over it and we call the method passing in the saver, which is the persister, for every single entity. And look how clean the code is now. And like I said, all the logic, everything happens to be inside of one file, the persistence. And items and players, even though they call the method, they don't have any logic saved in here. You don't even know what goes on. And everything can be modified here in one file if I ever need to modify. I could even add a new struct called, let's say, database saver. So if I want to save to a database instead of a text file saver, I could just start a new struct called database saver and implement the persister trait for it. And that basically makes it another saver. And after this, I'll show a diagram just to help you guys understand this concept a lot better. But for now, let's test to make sure the code works. So I'm going to clear everything here. Cargo run queue. I need to delete this first because just to prove that it works. All right, let's do it again. Boom. As you can see, everything works exactly the same as it was. So the logic itself hasn't changed this entire video, but we managed to make the code a lot cleaner, a lot more easier to refactor, and a lot easier to modify it if we need to, because everything is in one single file, persistence. And I think that's the magic of the visitor pattern, and I'm very fascinated by it. I think it's super interesting. So guys, I hope that helps. Have a wonderful day. Like I said, I really recommend you guys try this for yourself and build it out yourself. Start from scratch. Go through all the errors, go through all the failures of trying different things. And I think that's the best way you can learn programming. Have a wonderful day, and I'll see you next time.